Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great day for all of us. I warmly welcome you as we are about to begin CareerNext 2021, organized by the Candidate Council of CFA Society Sri Lanka as part of the event series organized to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the society. We would like to kindly draw your attention to the CFA Society Sri Lanka's job portal, which helps all the job seekers out there to find their dream job, and employers can sign themselves and advertise the available job opportunities. We are happy to inform you that our event is live streaming through YouTube and Facebook channels of CFA Society Sri Lanka. At this moment, I would like to thank our official sponsors, Colombo Stock Exchange and Acuity Knowledge Partners, for all the support given towards CareerNext 2021. Now I would like to take this opportunity to invite Mr. Travis Gomez, CFA, the Director and Candidate Council Chair of CFA Society Sri Lanka, to speak a few words to mark the beginning of the event, CareerNext 2021.
Thanks, Danusha, and welcome everyone, and good afternoon to all, and thanks for joining us today at this special occasion. So as Danusha said, this is one of our special events that we're having in line with the anniversary celebrations for the CFA Society Sri Lanka. So I welcome all the aspiring candidates from the different universities and the different companies, as well as our charter holders and our various volunteers to this special event. So for the benefit of some of our participants, particularly those who might be new to the CFA program or just starting on it, I would like to share a few, very briefly, a few key details about the CFA program, as well as the type of resources that are out there that would help you on your CFA journey. So let me just share my screen. Yeah, I believe you should be seeing my screen now. Yes, so the CFA program, the word CFA basically stands for the Chartered Financial Analyst Program. So this is a qualification that is administered by the CFA Institute. And really, it's regarded as really the gold standard when it comes to the finance and the investment profession. And it's a very sort of mission-driven sort of organization and a program, particularly where they see themselves as leading the investment profession, providing that global leadership to the capital markets. And in line with that, also, we are quite happy to have with us as one of our speakers, as well as our participating organizations, the Colombo Stock Exchange, where tomorrow you'll be hearing from Mr. Rajiva Bandaranaike, the CEO of the Colombo Stock Exchange. So, I mean, that really sort of speaks to the role that programs like the CFA program, the role they play in terms of improving that knowledge base of the stakeholders in the capital markets. So we are grateful to have them on board as well for this event. In terms of the another key thing that we want to highlight really is this is really a global program, and you're joining this global network of individuals around different countries, and really it's a program that is highly recognized, and really this is also one of the main appeals of the CFA program is its global appeal, and really it really gives you the opportunity if you're looking abroad at some global opportunities as well. This CFA program is really like seen as like your global passport to open up all these different opportunities. And we're really happy to have on board with us also a number of companies today with us today, who are representing different global companies. So we have with us Acuity Knowledge Partners, PwC, Stax, and Usabase with us. So grateful to have them on board. Another thing I would also like to highlight is in terms of the type of roles that are available to CFA candidates and charter holders. So if you look at the survey that has been done globally in terms of the different areas where charter holders are employed, so I think one thing that sort of sticks out is, given the program, it is predominantly people would choose a career in finance or capital markets related. But it's also interesting to note that the CFA program, it's really structured as a generalist program. So you don't need any prerequisite knowledge to start on the CFA program. You have different individuals from different backgrounds, from non-finance background, doing the program and sort of helping it to supplement their existing knowledge, or if they are looking for a career change, really how that CFA program has helped them with that. And we'll actually be hearing from some of our charter holders later in the evening about how the CFA program has helped them with their job and their career progression. Another thing to also point out is really it's not just the CFA program. It's not only for those who are looking for a role in finance. There's also many more opportunities in the corporate world and other sort of non-finance related opportunities as well. So if you look at this chart, they've shown that, if you look at, there's over close to a quarter of the charter holders who are employed. They're basically working outside of the finance field. So that was also something that we considered when it comes to the companies that we have invited for this event, to sort of give you that flavor of the type of the various opportunities that are open to you as a candidate and a charter holder. So we have from the finance related industries, we have companies, we have banks, we have investment banks, we have research houses, we have asset management firms that are involved here. So grateful for Asia Securities, Frontier Research, Cal, NDB, Linear Wealth, and TW Core for their presence here. As well as not forgetting, and very grateful to have Sunshine Holdings on board as well, to basically to give you that flavor of the kind of the different opportunities that are really out there. And in terms of where the charter holders work, and in terms of in Sri Lanka's case, so currently we have about 250 charter holders in Sri Lanka, and these are the sort of roles that typically they go into. So one thing to also highlight here is over here, it says that 61% of the CFA charter holders that study in Sri Lanka work in Colombo. So that also sort of highlights that, that many of them are also working abroad. And really the CFA, doing the charter really helps you, to basically gives you that global passport to pursue opportunities available abroad as well. So with that, just like to highlight that this is the broad structure of the CFA program. So I won't go into detail on this. There is the CFA Candidate Council has put together a comprehensive document which has all the relevant details about the program, and I'll be sharing that with you on chat after my presentation. But broadly, just keep in mind, this is how the program is structured. And just to give you very briefly about the type of support that is out there, apart from the resources you get from the CFA Institute itself when you register as a candidate, there are a few additional resources that are provided by the CFA Society Sri Lanka as well as the CFA Institute. So one support you can make use of is the scholarships that are there that can, if you're to help you with throughout the CFA program. So in Sri Lanka's case, there was in 2019, about 47 scholarships were awarded. So that's something you can make use of if you're considering the CFA program. Another initiative that is done by the CFA Society Sri Lanka is the Candidate Council. where we basically organize various events and activities to really help the candidates to help with their exam prep. So we have exam prep sessions, we have mock exams, we have deep discounts given by official prep providers on their material, as well as we are acting as a platform for the candidates to interact. So we have social events and other volunteering opportunities. And as I mentioned before, we have being a candidate council member also allows you to access some of these benefits from some of the prep providers, some very attractive discounts that are given by them. As well as another thing that we've also arranged for with a leading bank is you can your fees can be converted into a 0% installment plan. So these are some of the opportunities and the benefits that we are offering to candidates who are looking to pursue the charter. So if this is something of interest, if you're interested in pursuing the charter, you can just scan this code with your phone, where it'll give you a sort of a quick meeting. It'll give you sort of like an overview, a document about sort of giving your assessment of whether you're ready to take on the charter or not. Yeah, and with that, I would like to pass it back to Dhanusha, who would take you through the rest of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Travis. It was a great hearing from you. To give you an idea about the event, in day one, we will be having the information session by companies as our first segment. Then there will be a panel discussion with our own CFA charter holders. And in day two, the other companies will be joining us to do the information session. To conclude CareerNext 2021, there will be a soft skill training session at the end of day two. It is time to start our first segment of the day, which is the information session by companies. Out of the 12, 6 companies will be presenting their insights today with us, and the rest will be joining us tomorrow. Before moving on to the session, I would like to remind you that if you have any questions, please drop those in the comment section, and we will raise those at the latter part of each presentation. To begin with, I would like to call upon Mrs. Rochelle Mortier, Chief Human Resources of Capital Alliance, to share her thoughts. Over to you, Mrs. Rochelle.
Okay, hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So thanks, Dhanusha, and thank you, Travis. It's actually a pleasure to speak at the CFA Career Guidance Next program, which has been hosted today and tomorrow by CFA. And basically, I represent an organization named Capital Alliance Group. I think very many of you must have already heard about CAL. And we basically operate from the Nation's Trust Building Navamawata, Colombo 2. So just to give you an insight about the organization, I will cover what the company basically does, and I will also tell you in terms of hiring and employment, how we basically look at candidates, students, and offer potential employment here at CAL. So basically, we have been in operation for the past 20 years. Up to now, and the operation has always had the dream of being the leading institution in frontier capital and financial markets. So basically, we have a huge coverage when it comes to financial markets in Sri Lanka, and we have always had this dream to go frontiers, so to go outside of Sri Lanka and to widen our spectrum. So as a result of that, we have been working on this initiative in the last 2 years, and I think maybe in the next couple of years, we have enough and more room to move outside Sri Lanka and expand our business as a whole. So as an organization, I would like to always tell you that we are driven by our core values, which basically are on fairness and being dynamic, teamwork, and integrity. And these 4 pillars are basically part and parcel of every single employee's DNA in the organization. So this has trickled down right from the top to all segments in the organization, and we strongly believe that if someone needs to be at Capital Alliance, we strongly have to have these values. So it's not only the business, but when it comes to hiring, we also look at people's their values and how their personality traits would come into play. And I will cover this segment at the latter part of my presentation. So to move on. We always have a brand identity to talk about, and our brand promise has always been understanding markets and you. So this is the brand promise we have always given to our potential clients and also to our existing clients. And as a result of that, the company has had a very good reputation in the industry as a result of all our staff being aligned to understanding our the market, and also give servicing and giving a personalized service when it comes to clients. So in terms of the organization, we have 4 main pillars in the company. I would like to tell you that we have an asset management arm where we do private wealth management and unit trust operations. We also have a license to trade in the stock market. We have a license with the central bank for government securities, bills and bonds. And we also have a corporate finance arm where we do the deal advisory on buy and sell transactions. So these 4 pillars are very much in collaboration in the organization, and we have our staff working in separate divisions, but when it comes to CAL, I guess it's a one-stop shop for all sorts of financial solutions when it comes to investments and capital markets. So in terms of the culture, if I'm to tell you, we have a very strong culture in terms of equality, inclusion, and diversity. So when it comes to equality, we basically hire staff mainly on their merit, on what value they can bring to the organization. And we also do not, and we strongly do not consider people's, say, geographies when it comes to gender, age, orientation, whatever status. I mean, those become very irrelevant when it comes to hiring and also employment at CAL. So apart from that, we have a very flexible culture, a very flexible office. We have a couple of offices that we work from. Due to the pandemic last year, we were compelled to move our operation and work according to split teams. So people are empowered, people are actually given enough and more space to perform, and we have a couple of offices outside the main office, but I would say our main office still remains to be at Navamma, the Nations Trust building. So just a flavor of how the culture, I mean, this is what we we thrive on, and this is how we would always want our staff to be. So we believe that people are enabled and people are empowered to work from home, or maybe, work from wherever they are now, because of the fact that we have excelled in IT and technology during the past 2 years. So again, to touch on diversity and inclusion has been the subjects that we have been always driving in the past 2 years. We strongly believe that people are of all sorts of ideas, and people have various ways of dealing with things. And this is why CAL has excelled in the past couple of years, because we have always given people the opportunity to come forward, share their ideas, and as a result, they have been able to perform. And the level of performance has been tremendous in the organization. I mean, the number of promotions we do, the career progression we give has been immense in the past couple of years. And all because of the fact that we have driven diversity and inclusion in the company, and this aspect has largely contributed to performance, I would say, within the culture as a whole. Apart from work, we also have a foundation. We largely we have in the organization. It's called Cal Foundation, where we also enable and we help differently abled children in the country to realize their potential. So this is also something that the company and the culture and the staff also get together. And apart from work, we spend a lot of time and we put in a lot of effort in terms of helping the community. So just a few key highlights about the organization. I didn't want to get into more and more technical, detail of what Cal would do on a basic transaction or how we would manage in capital markets or in the stock market. I would always like to emphasize that it's the culture and it's the organization and it's the values that actually drive us. And this is something that we would always like to sell outside. And when we hire, we basically hire for people's performance, but I would say we would largely look at people's values and attitude. So when it comes to hiring, we also look at a lot of people's personality traits. We look at how one would behave in conflict mode, how people would work within a team. So there are various aspects of tools that we use internally when we hire. So we are a company that largely hires, or we hire a lot of candidates and potential candidates, undergraduates, CFAs from with financial backgrounds into the organization. So apart from the qualification, I think it's very important for us to understand a person's behavior, and this is why we rather thrive to do and we assess people to a different in a different aspect, to a different level, in order to leverage in terms of performance and one's personality and how he or she could fit into the organization. So I would like to have a couple of questions. If you'd like to post a couple of questions to me, you can even write to me, or you can even now ask me questions, and I will be happy to answer if there are anyone who needs to know more about CAL and what we do, and whether you want to know something further.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rochelle, for your valuable contribution. I think we have a question from Hasita. I think it's regarding Travis' session. Asking if I am interested in running my own company or start with funds raised from investors, is CFA a relevant qualification for me? How does it work when it comes to covering experience requirements? Travis?
Yes, so if I just share my screen briefly, so this is the program content for the CFA program. And really, as I said, the CFA program, it's very much structured as a generalist program and really gives you like an overall, so like a good foundation for you to do further where if you're doing something with regard to research or something related to analysis, something relating to portfolio management, if you look at the body of knowledge that is covered by the CFA program, I think you're really like well set up for someone who is considering, going on your own and starting your own business. Really, I think it really equips you with a lot of the tools, particularly about the financial analysis and particularly the wealth management and portfolio management skills. So I would say it's a very good foundation to help you with that preparation. Yeah.
I think it's answered. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Smadi Ismail, Senior Manager, and Mr. Dhananjay Vijayasekara, Manager of Corporate Finance and Valuation Division of PricewaterhouseCoopers, to address the gathering.
Sorry, I think just got disconnected. Can I share our presentation now?
Yeah, go ahead this one.
Sure, thank you. Right, can everyone see my screen? Is that coming up?
Yeah, it's coming up. You can go ahead.
Great. All right, thank you everyone. Good afternoon. So I'm here on behalf of PwC Deals Practice, and I'm joined by my colleague Dhananjaya Wijasekara, who's a manager in our Deals Practice. So we're here just to give everyone a bit of a background on PwC, kind of on the work we do, especially in our deal space, and how it might be relevant to kind of the CFA program and the candidates. So just moving on, so a quick global overview for those of you who are not familiar. So, PwC is a global firm. We have offices in over 155 countries. Headcount most recently was services. We're primarily known as an audit firm, so our assurance services. In addition to that, we also do work in the tax and advisory space, and just looking at kind of our clientele at a global level. So we work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies and also entrepreneurial and private businesses. So very large global firm. Talking about Sri Lanka specifically, so again, like I mentioned, the core services that can be broken down into 3 buckets. So we have our advisory services, our audit services, and our tax services. And our operations cover, we do both Sri Lanka and the Maldives. We have a bit under 500 people currently employed. So we come from the advisory services, that's where Deals is situated. As you can see here, there's 3 buckets there. So one is consulting, which includes things like human resource services, a financial function effectiveness, a strategy consulting, and PwC's Academy, where we do thought leadership and training programs. The other divisions we have includes our technology consulting. So tech is a big part of PwC. And there we have divisions including CIO advisory, so where we advise chief information officers on corporate digital strategies, digital transformation. We also do work in cybersecurity and Oracle consulting. So coming to the one that's most relevant, that would be the deal space. Within that, PwC Sri Lanka has 3 subunits. So we have one focused specifically on mergers and acquisitions, so transaction support services, due diligence, and that type of work. Then we have corporate finance and valuation. So this is more the financial analysis, financial modeling, business valuations, feasibility studies. And we also have another team specialized in capital projects and infrastructure and deal strategy. So that includes things like public-private partnerships and market entries, expansion strategies, looking at potential joint ventures, partners abroad. So basically, we come from the deals bucket, and that's what I'll be talking about, how it relates to the CFA program. So what do we do in our deals practice? So we tried to summarize a couple of 6 areas that we do work in. So looking at a typical deal process, so we start from the strategy side, so identifying or developing an M&A strategy depending on the nature of the transaction, the stakeholder requirements, what's the objective. We can also look at things like carve-out or divestment support, business valuation, financial analysis, market entry strategies, target search, so looking for potential targets if you're doing it for, say, a company that's looking to make acquisitions. Once we do the strategizing, then it comes time to identification. So you're looking at deal origination, so identifying potential sources of deals, who might be the best if you're doing a target search, having those initial conversations, discussions. It's a lot of a relationship, and it's a lot of soft skill work as well. So not only pure number crunching, but also understanding strategy and being able to communicate effectively with stakeholders on both sides. And obviously the advisory aspect of that. In terms of execution, so then that's where you get into the real core of the M&A process. So, facilitating the due diligence, understanding. So if you're doing the evaluation, what are the things to look for? If you're on the sell side, looking at how do I prepare the company for due diligence, identifying, potential red flags, advising our clients on, how do you best mitigate this so that to prepare the company for a effective sale where you're helping your shareholder, your stakeholder maximize their value. So that's again the key thing is always your client's objective. How do we best support our clients? That kind of ties in everything across this process. And then our work can even go beyond. So once you close the deal, beyond that, how do you have a plan for taking control, merger integration? How can you identify synergies, improvements to value? Because the most of the value in a deal actually doesn't come before the deal is executed, it actually comes afterwards. So for PwC, I mean, that's where we then leverage with our other business units, whether it's, financial function efficiency. So looking at how to restructure the financial function to drive, increased value for our clients, or whether it's strategy consulting, or whether it's HR, looking at, how do you rationalize the headcount to create cost efficiencies. So there's a lot of opportunities there that, beyond just the numbers, agree a price, that kind of thing, looking at how we can, work, and we get that exposure through our advisory unit. So I think that's one of our strengths that we try and bring to our clients. We've also got a couple of other specific services. So, if you're looking at vendor due diligence or, capital market advisory, companies are looking at, entering the equity markets. It's a very hot topic at the moment. And then even business restructuring. So that was something that was particularly in the last year, we've seen at a global level a lot of interest in. Obviously, COVID has had a negative impact for a lot of companies. We've had to look at how do companies restructure, whether it's on the financial side, whether it's on the operational side, to manage their leverage positions, obligations, kind of sustain themselves before they come out of this situation. So that's kind of what we do across the board in the deal space. Just moving in, so in addition to kind of the deals work, what do we do in corporate finance, which kind of relates to CFA? So we do a lot of work in terms of financial modeling, business valuation. Those are kind of, I would say, the more standard kind of products. And then you get into the more complex stuff. So, things like intangible asset valuation, where either you say you're trying to value a software or a license agreement. Sometimes you have, financial assets that need to be valued. So those are more technically challenging exercises. And obviously our clients look for us to, bring in the best standards and the learnings from PwC as a global firm, bringing that quality and process into whatever work we do for them. You've also got, other kinds of more basic financial work, whether it's, forecasting, reviewing, business plans, corporate strategies, and financial feasibility assessment. So that's something which we've seen a lot of interest recently, where clients are coming in with, new ventures, investment ideas, opportunities, and they want PwC to basically do a review of those financial forecasts or the business plan and come out with a report where we say, okay, this is, your financial return on that. So that's something that they want to obviously bring the quality and the reputation into it. So we've seen quite a lot of financial feasibility assessments, over the last 6 months even. So those are kind of the work we do, and how it kind of relates, if you look back in the CFA and the curriculum, is that you're looking at, for example, the financial analysis side relates to your FSA, financial statement analysis. When we get into the equity valuation, then we obviously use elements of that curriculum. And then even when it comes to advising some of our investment clients, so, whether it's asset managers, private equity funds, foreign investors, being able to understand the perspective of a fund manager and then, relate to that when we give our advice or our deliverables, kind of links into that as well. So, why PwC? I think we just tried to, highlight, what are some of the strengths or the benefits of PwC that, may be of interest. So our global mantra is basically helping solve important problems and building trust across society. And that's something that we try and bring into the work that we do, whether that's, in Sri Lanka specifically or by leveraging our global network. In the deal space, so one thing that we try and do is we work with our other territory firms. So within our PwC network, trying to help connect, Sri Lankan companies with foreign partners, investors, and then talking to, our foreign partners, trying to understand the dynamics in their markets. How can we best work with them? So a lot of clients have come to us where they want to enter a foreign market, and then we, get into conversations with the PwC firm in that territory because, like I said at the start, there's over 155 PwC firms. So, you pick a country, more likely than not, there's a firm there, and then we can work with them to try and help, Sri Lankan companies and clients go outward. At the same time, that also works the other way as well. So, foreign investors coming in and having that understanding of PwC as a global firm, because the processes that we follow in Sri Lanka are the same, anywhere else in the world, whether you're talking the US, UK, Australia, Hong Kong, Singapore. So through our global platform, global thought leadership, global training standards, this allows us to deliver a expected level of quality, and foreign investors especially, find that beneficial. And I think something that we've seen recently is also, these kind of complex technical assignments where we're able to kind of use our foreign expertise or technical experts to deliver. So, one example of this is we actually recently conducted a valuation of stock options for a listed Sri Lankan entity. And I actually let my colleague Dhananjay, who worked on the project, elaborate a bit more on how they carried that out and how it kind of related to the CFA. Dana, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Smriti. My name is Dhananjay Vijayasekara. I'm a CFA chart holder. Currently, hope everyone can hear me. Travis, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. Dhananjay.
Yeah. So currently, I'm working in CFN Corporate Finance and Valuation Business Unit. As Ismadi mentioned, as a leading consultancy firm, we get the opportunity to work in complex, technically challenging assignments. Recently, also, we conducted the valuation of stock option for a listed entity in Sri Lanka. In such instances, we always rely on the information, the resources we have internally. And also, we can bring in technical experts to assist us to carry out such requirements. Let's move on to the next slide, Ismadi. Yes. Myself being a CFA charter holder, I can say the good thing about PwC is we can apply the things we learn in CFA curriculum at PwC. Equity to corporate finance, quantitative methods, even derivatives, we can apply in practical scenarios. As new joiners would start going through our global training materials on financial analysis, business valuation, deal strategy, and financial due diligence. Being a part of a global firm, we have access to numerous resources for continuous learning and development in both technical as well as to develop our soft skills. Our analysts work on project basis, and we also get the opportunity to work with different business units. We get the opportunity to work with strategy consulting, we work with mergers acquisition team, even with assurance and audit related services when it comes to PwC. Once we get comfortable with foundational workflows, we move into more complex and technically challenging work. This is where actually we can leverage the things we learn in CFA to meet our clients' objectives. PwC is a global firm with the opportunity for further career advancement through secondment to our partner firms. Our employees have been seconded to USA, Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, and Botswana, to name a few. Just to summarize, for CFA candidates and CFA charter holders, PwC is an ideal place to work and to apply the knowledge and to finally become a unique professional in this business environment. That's all from my end. Smriti, you can add if there's anything you want to.
Sure. No, I think that sums it up pretty well, Dana. So I think basically, if anyone has any questions and answers, happy to take it now, or even if after the session, if anyone wants to reach out, I'm sure our contact details can be shared. And happy to have a discussion if anyone wants to understand how PwC, yes, what are the opportunities, and how, any questions. We're always happy to have a chat with anyone. So,
yeah.
Thank you very much, both. We would much oblige
Great.
if you could let our attendees know how to apply for a job at PwC.
Sure. So basically, on our PwC global basically our PwC Sri Lanka website, there is a careers option. So if you go under that, there is a platform that we have, the PwC Workday platform, where any job listings are posted. So then candidates can go through that and apply, and even apply just generally. So then their CV will enter a pool, so that whenever we are looking for candidates, say for a particular role, and if there's a candidate in the pool, automatically they'll be, alerted. We'll be alerted internally, and then we can then reach out and run through the recruitment process for suitable candidates.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smadi and Mr. Dhananjay Vijayasekara. It was a great hearing from you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Now I humbly invite Mr. Thilan Sampath, CFA, the country head of user base, Mr. Charit Gunasekara, and Mr. Senik Patirana, the lead analyst of user base, to share their thoughts.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I am Thilan from Userbase. I first of all want to thank CFA Sri Lanka and Travis for organizing this event, and it's a pleasure to speak to you all in today evening. Let me share my screen. Just a moment until it loads. Hope you can see my screen. So we are user base. So we are happy to just take you through a few details about the company and the job roles. So what we're going to cover is we'll introduce the company a little bit, and then two of my team members will take you through some of the job roles we have at Userbase Sri Lanka. Moving on, just a little bit of myself. I'm Thilan. I head the Userbase operation for Sri Lanka. For CFA, I was the university outreach committee head previously, and currently I also handle the scholarship work as well for CFA Sri Lanka. So moving on to Userbase. So we are a Japanese company, and we guide business people to insight that change the world. Just to give you a bit more detail. So this is a company established in 2008, and currently it's a listed company in Japan with about $1 billion market cap and a revenue of around $125 million annually. As I mentioned before, we guide business people to insights that change the world. So essentially what we are doing is we are a foundation of intelligence and information provider of information platforms where our clients, it is both B2B and B2C, where they can analyze, organize, and create global information. So to help their innovative potential. Moving on. So these are the services that Userbase provides. There are 6 platforms mentioned here, but two of them are the most prominent, those called Speeda and NewsPicks. Speeda is a B2B platform and NewsPicks is a B2C platform. And in Sri Lanka, what we want to mention is, so as a one of the global officers of Userbase, we support 2 platforms that are coming from Userbase. Those are Speeda, and later there's a platform called Speeda Edge. Speeda is a business intelligence platform, and I think all of you in this audience would have known about Bloomberg, Reuters, and Capital IQ. So Speeda is a platform which is a competitor for those 3 names I mentioned. And in Japan, they are actually the market leader in this field. Speeda Edge is a startup platform. What the previous presenter from PwC also was mentioning. So that's startups work maybe in the local arena, but this is the startup work in the global arena. We have a platform which is at some early stages, but from Sri Lanka, we provide a lot of support for this platform. So these are the officers Userbase has, and as you can see, Sri Lanka is one of the main officers, and we have more than 60 employees, predominantly financial analysts, working for these platforms in Sri Lanka. Then to close out my introduction, I want to share this founding story of the Userbase. So what you can see are the 3 founders, and 2 gentlemen to the right are investment bankers. They were at UBS Japan. So how they founded these companies, they were analysts. and they were investment bankers, they have realized, okay, they spend the majority of their time searching and compiling data at that time. So they realized there is a need to come up with a platform that can solve that problem and that can fast track the work of analysts, corporate planning professionals, venture capitalists, all the people who are, related to the business decision making can be helped. So this founding story gives us, for me especially also, this founded by investment bankers, and that's why we have a lot of analysts in this company, and that largest analyst pool is in Sri Lanka. Even currently, the current leadership, a majority are from investment banking background. So with that, I like to move to the one of our lead analysts, Senith, to take you through the rest of the details.
Thank you, Tilan. So hello, everyone. My name is Senith, and I'll be taking you through the work that is being done at the global industry team. So just a bit of background on me. I'm currently a lead analyst here at Userbase, and I've been here for around 4 years now, starting my career way back as an intern and sort of moving up both on an IC and management role. Currently, I, along with 2 other members, co-manage the global industry team. A bit of my background also on education, which involves a bit of economics and management and also an MBA. In addition to that, I also used to lecture for the University of London programs as well. Now moving on to the next slide. Yes, so in terms of the work that we do, the global industry team has about 25 plus analysts and is also one of the largest teams here in the Sri Lankan office. Currently, our main focus is on trying to create original in-house content. So as Tilan mentioned, SPIDA is a business intelligence platform and has various components, of which we handle some of these components here in the Sri Lankan office. That includes industry reports for established industries. So generally how this works is our analysts are given certain sectors that they get to specialize in. And once that is done, they also get the responsibility of certain subsectors that fall under broader sectors. For example, let's say automobiles, electronics, etc. We also do work on sector newsletters and insights, where we try to cover some of the more recent updates happening across top trending industries wanted by our users. And we also do something called company mappings, where we try to map both privately listed companies and private companies and publicly listed companies to certain industries, which helps us create industry clusters. So all this information is on the SPIDA platform, which then gets utilized by around 1,000 odd users, ranging from both corporates to professional firms. And these 1,000 users have around 3,000 odd IDs that have subscribed onto the SPIDA platform currently. Moving on to the next slide. Yeah, so basically, as I mentioned, our core work involves industry reports, and there are around 560 plus industries on the SPIDA platform at the moment. And as you can see on the left-hand side, I've tried to include the range of countries that we cover. So basically, for a particular industry, we have around a couple of geographies that we extend our research into, mostly centered around the Asian region. But for example, like China, Japan, the ASEAN 6, but we also try to cover the US and the world as well as part of our research. And in a nutshell, our work involves trying to create reports that involve certain subsections. For example, something called the industry overview, which is where we try to identify the key salient features of the industry and basically what the industry is all about. We also do a section called market trends, which involves a bit of demand supply analysis and also analyzing the key trends happening in this industry, both on a historical and on a future base. As well as we also have a section to analyze the competitors, how they are performing, on a domestic market, as well as on key performance indicators. So this is all amalgamated into one report, which is then provided on the platform. And as you can see, our clients also have access to all the other countries as well, which enables them to also compare and get a bit more information on that industry across varying geographies. So that's it from my end on the JIT. Over to you, Chai.
Thanks, Senith. Yeah, so before we go into the platform, just a little bit about myself. So much like Senith, I am also a lead analyst. However, I work with the SPIDA Edge team. I have been at Userbase for nearly 4 years now, and I worked as an industry research analyst, and I used to be in the JIT team as well. So I started my career as a junior analyst, and now I work my way up to lead analyst. In terms of my education, I am a CFA charter holder, as well as an associate member of CIMA. And in my other interests, well, I love talking. So I am a part-time A-level lecturer, and I used to be the debating coach for Lyceum International School, and I'm currently an active member of Sri Lanka's debating circuit as well. So without further ado, going into the platform. So what we do at Speed Agent, this is why it actually relates to CFA as well, is because what we end up doing is an equity analysis, but our focus and our end users tend to be like venture capitalists and private equity firms. And what we try to offer is information about emerging industries, about very, very new industries, like let's say plant-based meat, things that, you know, are very, very new to the world. And there's very little information out there provided by alternative sources. So for that, we actually offer market sizing estimates, which is basically where you have to model the industry and come up with a value, but that becomes extra challenging because there's very little information about these industries. In addition to that, we also segment the market ourselves through our own research, and we come up with a live market mapping as well. And once we have the market map and once we've actually classified our organizations into various segments, we also track their funding, and we also offer that information, because unlike, you know, when it comes to very large listed companies, when it comes to startups, funding is a very good way to gauge how successful or how much traction a certain company is gaining. And if you move on to the next slide, we also just a few of the topics that we cover. So there's remote work tools, plant-based meat, cell cultured, and so on. So what we want to highlight here is that, you know, when we say new industries, we mean very, very new. Like even things like 5G and cloud, there has been a lot of research on them and the impacts that they would have. But things like plant-based meat, smart farming, no code, and so on are very, very new. And that's what we mainly work on. So moving into like the typical, you know, day, and like basically what our roles are as an analyst. So let me just take myself. So basically I cover about 5 industries at the moment, and they're all in the emerging tech and in the tech sector. So we basically work in different sectors similar to the GIT team. And I also personally, I lead the team that covers the tech sector with 2 other analysts as well. So I support them, and our team covers maybe about 10 reports, which are in the emerging tech sectors. So our report includes basically multiple components, but just to give sort of on a very high level, what it includes is firstly the market sizing estimate. But in addition to that, we also talk about the overview, because we write about industries that are new that people don't really know too much about. So we try to give a brief overview, but a brief yet comprehensive overview about what the industry is, how it functions, what drives it, what are the risks, etc. We also look at the COVID impact, because many industries were affected by it, some in a very big way, some in a very minor way, but one way or the other, we cover the COVID impact. And the biggest challenge we have is maintaining the profiles as well. So we try to profile about 50 to 100 startups, depending on the industry. And we basically make sure that we cover every single company that's in the US at the moment, because our platform is focused on US and US VCs. So we will make sure that we have data on all the startups in the US. And in addition to writing the profiles, it's not really done there. We provide a daily news update and daily news coverage as well, where we try to say what's new in the industry, what's new with the companies, their funding, geographic expansions, product expansions, and so on, where we need to cover and give that information to our readers on a daily basis as to how the industry is moving and what changes are happening. And finally, we also participate in webinars. So just 2 weeks ago, we did one on no-code software. And this is where we present our findings and basically our industries directly to potential clients in the US. So that's something that we do as well. And those are obviously offered online. So that actually sums up our presentation on user base. So we'd like to open the floor to questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tilan, Mr. Senith, and Mr. Charit for your valuable contribution. I think attendees had a clear idea about user base. There can be attendees who are keen to know on how to join your company. So I really appreciate if you can direct them on how to apply.
Yes, so we usually, advertise through CFA, career link as well. So whenever there is opening, there will be advertisement, so you can find it there. Even now, I think it's there. In addition, you can directly, go through the website and apply as well. And, we can forward our contact details, and you can reach out to us directly on LinkedIn as well, if you have any, if you're actually interested.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dilan. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our official sponsors, Colombo Stock Exchange and Equity Partners Private Limited, for the support given towards CareerNext 2021. Further, I would like to remind you that if you have any questions, please drop those in the comment section. Let me now cordially invite Mr. Hiran Samarasinghe, CFA, Head of Investor Relations and Strategy, Mrs. Sanjana Moroge, Business Analyst, Strategy of Sunshine Holdings, to discuss their views on today's topic.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Greetings from Sunshine Holdings. So I'm sorry I don't have a presentation to show you about the company, but I'll structure it this way. I'll just talk to you about like what the company is about initially. Then I think we have a short video on like how life is like at Sunshine, like a 2-minute short clip. And then me and Sanjana, we will take you through our roles to give you some flavor as to what CFA or a CFA candidate, what kind of roles they can play at a company like Sunshine Holdings. So Sunshine is slightly different to all the other companies who will be presenting in this platform over the next today and tomorrow. We are a corporate entity. So unlike others, we roll up our sleeves and get right down to the business. So the other, broadly, the group has 3 core sectors. Healthcare is our core founding business. Then Sunshine Consumer is the 2nd largest sector. And the 3rd sector is agribusiness. So Sunshine Healthcare, it's a 53-year-old business started by our founder. Sunshine Healthcare has a few components within. We have pharmaceuticals. We are one of the second largest pharmaceutical importer and distributor in Sri Lanka. So if you have ever bought drugs at a pharmacy, there's a good chance that it's one of our products. We also do medical devices and testing equipment. We represent companies like GE, Siemens. So if you have done a blood test recently in any of the local private hospitals, it's probably one of our machines. We also have a retail chain which is called HealthGuard. I'm sure those who are living in Colombo would know HealthGuard. And also recently we merged with Akba Healthcare, which brought in a pharma manufacturing element into the Sunshine Healthcare umbrella. I'll move on to Sunshine Consumer, which is our 2nd vertical. Sunshine Consumer has 2 categories. One is branded tea and the other one is confectionery. On branded tea, we are the market leaders in the branded tea space in Sri Lanka. We have popular brands like Zesta, Vatavalathe, and Rankahata, 3 separate brands catering to 3 separate consumers and like socio-economic divisions of the population. On the confectionery side, which is a more recent addition, we acquired Dainty late last year. So that's a recent addition, and that also has like different categories like toffees, chocolate, biscuits, and gamut of confectionery products. So we are also the market leader in the toffee segment in that space. In terms of agriculture, we have 2 categories. One is the palm oil, the edible oil plantation, and also a dairy farm, which is about 1,000 milking cows producing about 20,000 liters every day. So that's broadly the business. So let me share my screen so I can run you through the short video on how life is like at Sunshine, and then we'll quickly jump into the roles. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it here.
Yeah, cool.
Sorry, Hiran, we're not hearing the sound from it. Excuse me, Hiran. Sorry, we're not hearing the sound from it. I think you might have to reshare it again, enabling the sound.
Sorry guys, I think part of the video you guys didn't hear this thing. I'll just push it back a bit.
Sorry, Hiran, I think you need to reshare your screen with enabling for the sound.
Okay,
because we're
let me
not
do that.
hearing it. Yeah.
Was it audible before?
No, it was not audible before. I think when you share the screen at the bottom, there will be like a checkbox saying to enable the PC sound.
Got it. Okay, I'll just run that 2 minute from the beginning. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine now. Thanks.
It's a career I have taken. It's not a job I have been doing for last 17 years. And I have grown with this company. We all work as a family. We enjoy working here.
They recognize me where I'm suitable, and they have given the job role as per that, and they always are motivating us.
අපි කුඩා ඉසේ ඉහළ දක්වා ඉන්න සෑම කෙනෙකුටම එක සැලකීමෙන් අපිට සලකන බව මම මේ වෙලාවේ කියන්න කැමතියි.
Our whole business is about relationships and it's all about people. Therefore, our staff become the most important asset in our organization. We work very hard to get our people trained. We need to increase their knowledge. We need to keep them motivated. Therefore, one focus of mine is to keep the people happy and motivated so that the results would be automatic.
Sorry guys, I think we had some technical issues before, but I hope you guys heard that. So again, as you saw, we are a family company, as in we are one big family, the Sunshine family. So our values are centered around the founders, like that family company values. Moving on to roles, so I head the investor relations and corporate strategy division. So what I'll do is I'll speak a bit about the investor relations function, and I think Sanjana, who is also a CFA candidate, will take you through the strategy function. On the investor relations, basically, we are a listed company. So we have disclosure requirements to CSC every quarter. Apart from that, I'm in charge of managing the relationships with all the brokers and the investors. So we have sell side research and like the funds who are the buy side researchers. So it's a matter of sharing details with them, talking to them on our strategy and like how we are going to progress over the years, so that they can build models and make investment theses so that they can invest in the Sunshine Holding shares. So we also used to have road shows organized by the Colombo Stock Exchange. Like companies go out, listed companies go out to foreign markets like Singapore, London, New York, and like market to like big funds. So we used to take part on those, but due to COVID, we haven't had the chance to do that over the last actually 1.5 years. So that's also part of the role. We also have a quarterly results webinar where we discuss our quarterly results and present to a range of investors / analysts, and they have the chance to ask us questions. So earlier, back in the day, this was done physically, and now with technology and also with COVID, we have seamlessly moved to an online platform to do this regularly, quarterly. In terms of strategy, one is corporate finance, the second vertical is M&A. So I think I'll take strategy, but Anjana, if you can just brief the audience on M&A.
Sure. Thank you, Hiran. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So if we look at the strategy role, as being a corporate, what we are involved from the identification of a strategic opportunity throughout the process up to integration of it as well into the existing operations. So as the first step, what happens in this process is we identify strategic opportunities for inorganic growth, like mergers and acquisition deals. So like Hiran previously mentioned, we are involved in many sectors, many industries. So within these industries, we identify opportunities, for example, vertical integration or acquiring a competitor and increasing our market share, or even looking at new opportunities and new operations to undertake. So once we identify what our company needs, we then look at targets, like what can we acquire, what can we merge with. And in this identification process, we might even liaise with external advisors. And then once we identify one or two targets, what we do is we look at a valuation. We go into discussions with them. So there's a bit of relationship management as well there. And then once we come up with a valuation, we go into negotiations and structuring the deal accordingly. So throughout this process, meanwhile, we would also engage in due diligence process. So there also we liaise with external advisors. And so the negotiations would again change based on due diligence findings as well. So negotiating the price further and structuring the deal even further after DD findings. So after that, what happens is the legal part of it. So again, we have our in-house lawyers as well, and along with other consultants, we do the legal process for these transactions and deals. And there we again sit for discussions with the other party and our external consultants in coming up with the legal documentation required. And after all of this, we are also focused on the integration of whatever new business that we acquire into the existing company. So here, cultural management and change management and so on is also pivotal. Throughout this process, we also look at the corporate governance requirements. Being a corporate, there are particular steps that we have to look at as a listed entity as well. So we have an investment committee and communications to the board of directors that need to go during each of these steps from our end. So that's basically it on the mergers and acquisition process. Hiran, over to you.
Thanks, Sanjana. So I think the key difference from investing like a PE company or like a fund is that we don't buy companies to sell again or to make return. We buy companies for strategic reasons, so that basically we are stuck with it for a long time. So we go into very deep details to understand those industries, understand the machinery, understand the management culture and all that, and how compatible that is to the Sunshine culture. So there's a deep due diligence happening, and also a lot of hand holding the operating team. So there'll be operating team of the target acquired, and then there's the operating team of the Sunshine Holdings or Sunshine Consumer team. So basically, during the transaction process, these two can't meet. It's confidential. Only we deal with the target. But after signing and all, there's a hand-holding period, which we call the post-merger integration period, where my team works with both parties to map out the strategy going forward, and also to resolve cultural issues, misunderstandings, and be the middleman there to balance it all out. In terms of strategy, basically, it's strategy set by the board, and we do a support function in terms of gathering information and compiling and putting it all together. So we do 3-year plans and then break it down to 1-year budgets, and also as part of that, as the agent for the shareholders or the board, we review budgets monthly. So all the operating companies will come and report to us monthly and explain how they performed against that plan or budget, annual budget, and what went wrong, what are the learnings. So we discuss ideas and try to help them based on what we know and what we see by analyzing the operations and financials. So that's broadly it in terms of the role. To give you some background as to career path, so I joined Sunshine about almost 8 years ago, 7 years ago, yeah, as a business analyst, similar to Sanjana. So I've come up the ladder in the holding company, and now I head the strategy and IR function. But the thing is, most of my colleagues in Sunshine Holdings are either sales reps who are out there selling products and marketing experts. So we have a very small center in that sense, but we are always in the lookout for smart people who will contribute in a dynamic way to our operating businesses. I think, sorry. Our career email address is careers@sunshineholdings.lk. So if anybody is interested, you can send in your CVs, and we are always in the lookout for good talent, good and dynamic talent to join our teams and to mix it up with all the operating teams. So if anybody is interested, I think the society can share those email addresses and contact details. I'm happy to take any questions from the audience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hiran and Mrs. Sanjana, for your valuable insights.
Thank you guys for having us.
Next
Thank you.
To to have Mrs. Ratnakala Kumaragurnathan, an Associate Director, Investment Research of Equity Knowledge Partners, to address the gathering.
Thanks, Dhanusha. Thank you, everyone, for having us. I think we'll start with the video. Yeah, let's start with the video and then I'll speak. Thank you, Dhanusha.
Never in the history of the financial services industry has it been through such a change. Markets are evolving swiftly. Customer expectations are growing. Business models are being disrupted, and regulators are bringing in new reforms. Being a leader is not enough. Organizations need to evolve and transform. Human capital needs to be integrated with emerging technology. We bring 20 years of experience of being a trusted partner to financial services firms. We improve front office efficiency through our tailored research, analytics, and data services, empowering global financial services companies to innovate and transform their business models. Our proprietary technology and automation platform, Beat, provides domain-specific technology crafted to clients' needs. We are committed to driving clients' revenues, improving operational efficiency, and continually innovating to transform our clients' business models and processes, enabling them to do more with less. We are Acuity Knowledge Partners. Empower, innovate, transform.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Dhanusha, for playing that. Right, so let me tell you about who we are. I think a lot of you know our previous name. So we were Amber Research and then Copalamba, Moody's Analytics, and now Acuity Knowledge Partners. So we're basically in the space of knowledge process outsourcing. We are a leading provider of high-value research. So we're in the business of analytics, business intelligence. We service the global financial services sector. We support over 350 clients throughout, using our workforce of over 3,000 analysts who are spread across our global delivery network. Basically, if you want the Wall Street experience, we say, Acuity is the place for you to join. So we support these large asset managers and large investment banks globally, providing them customized equity research solutions, fixed income and credit research support, quantitative credit strategy, analytics, wholesale banking, and credit research support. We're also in the business of contextual technology solutions as well. So, I mean, I know that's a lot of words, but it's very high value, high end work across the investment research value chain. And in terms of the career that you will have as a financial analyst when you start, you get exposure to working for one of these world-class rated analysts. You are in the business of obviously the research side of what we do for the clients. So there's a lot of analytical know-how, a lot of technical know-how that is actually applied in the business. I mean, in terms of the value proposition, we believe in career trajectory in the space of in a value purpose of meritocracy, space of merit. So we believe in boosting career trajectory through intense learning throughout your career. So there will be an expectation of domain knowledge, expectation of team skills, expectation of management skills, and also learning on the job throughout your process of supporting this client. So you may be working for buy side, you may be working for sell side, but depending on the changing market space, changing dynamism of the industry, your skills also need to keep getting updated, and that is something we truly live by. So you will have that blended learning in terms of having that content in terms of domain, team, and management skills. See, our culture is also driven by that core values of, customer focus, making sure that there is excellence in whatever we do. So in terms of having individuals that we take on board, we're looking for individuals who have that hunger to learn, hunger to apply their knowledge, and sort of committed to a lifelong a journey of learning. And also people who live by our core values, which is integrity, ethics, and working for some of these best minds in the industry. So just to give you a brief on when you start working, how the typical process is done. So I mean, CFA candidates, CFA members are our ideal pick. Individuals who have that technical, sound technical knowledge already, and proven technical knowledge that can actually be taken to application. And as you have studied on, as your whole qualification holds you to the strongest and highest level of ethics and integrity, that is the same expectation that we in the same space of knowledge process outsourcing we hold, because you also work or you support clients and they share information on that expectation, that we also hold their confidentiality at the highest level. So when you start, one of the first things we would do is we will ensure that you go through a boot camp of training for 5 weeks, making sure that your technical skills are brushed up, your technical skills are tested, and that they are top notch before you're basically assigned to client-facing roles. So this is not only on the technical skill side, but also on client management, on how you work under pressure, how you even as simple as managing multiple stakeholders. So all of you go through that intense boot camp for 5-6 weeks, and you go through learning all of our learning across our different verticals, which is in investment research, commercial lending, a bit of quantitative in terms of learning to code, and then that gives us at the end of the day an assessment as to where your skills are best suited, and that so we take a very structured approach in assigning vertical based on how you perform during this intense training program. It also gives the candidates who are recruited a chance to understand or get a flavor of the different things that they will be exposed to, and also give them a chance to see where their skills actually will be best utilized in. So once you're done with that, we have a very systematic way of, a skills-based matrix where your skills are basically matched against your designation and role, and that is matched against, client expectations and different engagements. And then you start, supporting these clients, and then, you learn on the job. Client will also give you a lot of benchmarks will keep getting raised, so that you also keep raising your bar, and then people do a couple of years as financial analyst, and the progression is to team lead, supervisor, but also there are individuals who prefer to be individual contributors or strong analysts even as they grow as across their designation, and that is also accommodated and acknowledged in the system. Hello, I'm audible, yeah?
Yeah, go ahead, Rad.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So that is just a flavor of how the whole system in terms of your placement, etc. works. In addition to that, some of the other things that I want to touch on our value system and on the softer side of things is that where culture, as I said when we started, of merit. It is where culture of inclusion. So it's basically your work speaks for everything else. So we have a very transparent system of career progression. and you are recognized basically for your merit. And we have a very structured and a democratic way of looking at the performance management system, and therefore it becomes one of the more conducive environments and go-to places to work, because you're surrounded by some of the best minds in the industry. So I mean, to tell you about how I started my career, so currently I head the training and knowledge management function in Colombo. I also head all the buy-side engagements in Colombo. So I started my career 13 years ago at AMBA 13 years ago as a trainee analyst. And as I said, I also went through the training program. Of course, then it was just largely the equity valuation part of the training program, and then assigned to one of the leading buy-side accounts at the time, and making sure you have consistently high performance, and then you move towards leading a small team, and then supervising, and and have that and walk up that ladder. So the point I want to make is that it's a very, very clear progression, and if it's an area that if your ambition is to keep learning and actually apply that learning and to sort of be on your toes all the time, it's one of the best places to work in. So if you're interested, I think the society will send out a flyer. We are hiring right now, so shoot out an email to the details that's given on the flyer. But yeah, happy to take any questions right now that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ratnakala. It was a great hearing from you. I would like to know
thank you. Yes.
How CFA helps the career life at Acuity.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How CFA helps the career life at Acuity.
Oh, absolutely. So CFA, what you learn in CFA is a lot of the literature and a lot of the content that you learn is what's directly sort of applied in the market space that we are in. So even if you look at from a client perspective, we usually share the CV of the candidates that, to the clients before the picking process, etc. And obviously having that CFA mark on their CV makes a huge difference from the client perspective to even have the conversation. And it's not just only about the technical skills, because technical skills are sort of can be taught and you will learn on the job, but it is also knowing someone has CFA or someone is pursuing to get through their charter holder. The clients get a lot of confidence that these people hold ethics and integrity at one of their highest as one of their highest value propositions, which is very important to clients when they share information, when you work with such sensitive information as well. So CFA definitely plays a big role both from a technical standpoint and a non-technical standpoint.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ratnakala. I think attendees had a clear idea about it.
I think there is a question, Dhanusha, I can see on the chat screen, roles where coding and data analytics. Okay. Yeah, so so there is, I mean, one of our verticals is what we call specialized solutions, which entails individuals who, I mean, coding and the data analytics on the side of data science, etc., is a requirement in terms of performing the roles in terms of supporting these large asset managers or investment banks. So more and more we have clients who have come to us asking for solutions on that side of on that spectrum of things, which requires skills such as coding and data analytics from our analysts to actually help them. Now, having this coding, data analytics plus CFA, that combination is what I call the holy grail now. So if you have that combo, it actually you do, because right now the way the industry and the market is moving, gone are the days where analysts are actually categorized as, okay, this guy is good in finance, or this guy is good in programming, or this guy is good in accounting, this guy is good in analytics. They like someone who has a good balanced knowledge across all of these spaces, because then you are better positioned to finding a solution to the problems the client may have by utilizing all of this skill set, right? So right now, although we do have, investment research as a separate vertical and specialized solutions as a separate vertical, we do have a lot of the both investment banks and asset managers utilizing our financial analysts, who are basically largely CFA qualified individuals, asking them to do a bit of coding also. So we have actually integrated as part of our training system everyone who joins, in addition to learning the equity valuation and a bit of fixed income, commercial lending, they also learn to do some basic coding, because then they are able to find a solution with that domain expertise in the industry. And clients like that. Clients don't want to just work with the coders or just work with the hardcore finance guys. They want to work with a combination of both. So having that is the mantra now. And as I said, the holy grail analysts. I hope that answers your question, Oshidi.
Yeah, we have another question. When you join Acuity, do you have to work from home because it is a US-based company?
So, I mean, we didn't have work from home before COVID because of the sensitivity of the information. Having said that, COVID obviously forced all of us to think outside the box to continue our services. So we were all forced to work from home, and we did get client consent to function from home. And we have our IT and compliance has set up an infrastructure where that data is still, sort of safe, even though you're working from home. So right now, we're still working from home, but until a proper global policy is, sort of set out for when we can go back. Our offices are fully functional, so it's voluntary for people to go in. There's about 30% of the workforce who function from office and 70% work from home. But there is no, answering your question, you will not always work from home or you will not always work from office. It'll all depend on the situation. But once things are hopefully settled, and once clients also get back, and the safety obviously is a higher priority for our employees, once we are confident of that, then we will certainly get back completely to office. So whether it's US or UK, then it will be functioning, just because the infrastructure is also that much more solid in working from office, because you have better internet bandwidth, because you work on high, very heavy files, etc.
Thank you very much again for your valuable insights.
No problem. Thank you, Danisha.
It will now be the turn of Mrs. Trisha Perez, CFA, Head of Economic Research of Frontier Research, to have a word.
Hello, let me just share my screen. All right. So good evening, everyone. I'm Trisha, and I'm the head of economic research at Frontier Research. Before I go ahead with my presentation, I'd just like to thank the CFA Society for organizing this event and inviting us to participate as well. So I will touch on Frontier Research, what we do, who our clients are, what our culture is like, and the opportunities that are available at Frontier at the moment. So in terms of Frontier Research, to give you a very brief explanation, at Frontier Research, we believe that time is our most precious resource. And a lot of what we do, from the way we work to the way we service our clients, how our reports, presentations, all of that is structured, is very much based on the fact that we want to be time efficient. So in line with this, what we do really is provide time efficient research and business friendly perspective on the economy as well as on equity side as well, which I'll explain later, in a way that clients can make an informed decision as best as they can. We also do provide investment recommendations, but it is a lot more in terms of asset allocation, so a much more top-down kind of perspective rather than stock selection. And we provide our forecast in terms of what's happening in the economy as well. So what we are known for and what kind of sets us apart is that we are an independent research firm. So we are not associated or affiliated with any type of stock brokering or trading or anything like that. So being an independent, giving independent advice and independent recommendations is something that clients very much value from Frontier Research. And in terms of our views, we are often seen as being a lot more contrarian. Of course, not all the time, but in certain instances, we have been known to be a little bit more publicly kind of contrarian. And of course, in terms of our purpose, it would be to do really great things at work and also to redefine what work-life balance means in terms of a life-first approach, which I will explain a little bit later as well. So in terms of the separate arms that we have at Frontier, so one of the core ones would be macroeconomic research. So this is very much focused on going up. So this is very much focused on providing interest rate and exchange rate forecasts to our clients, directional perspective as well as specific ranges as well. And of course, in line with this of course requires us to have an understanding of what will the exports look like, what will imports look like, what will the balance of payments look like, giving forecasts on that, how the budget deficit would be, how we see it, how we see inflation, growth forecast, things like that. All of it ties into giving that interest rate and exchange rate forecast, which is really what a client really wants at the end of the day. But as I speak about it, this is not a very quantitative approach that we would take, which is a little bit different to the norm. What we do is very team-based. We have a lot of discussions, a lot of views are shared by the team. Everyone's input is really taken into consideration to come to kind of finalize what we really think is going to happen in the economy. So it is not by any means a less difficult process. It's sort of an intensely collaborative process that we go through in coming up with our views. So what we do want to do in terms of our economic research is to alert our clients on the main turning points in the economy. If something happens, what does it mean? How does it impact them? And what do they need to do about it? So those are, I would say, maybe some of the core questions that we try to answer for clients, because in a world where time is limited and time is money, that's really what they want to know at the end of the day. So our macroeconomic research arm is very much focused on this, and how we provide services is through presentations and through reports at the moment. Another large arm that we have is in terms of sector research. So here we provide perspectives on the stock selection. It's a lot more of asset allocation that we really focus on. And we also focus on certain sectors like banking sector, finance sector. And we've also gotten into more recently the health as well as real estate sector. So in terms of this, what we want to do is really provide a perspective on risk and return, how an investor should behave in certain economic climates, how to deal with scenarios, and really making the best investment decision for them. So we don't service just corporate clients, we also service high net worth individuals as well. So providing this type of kind of big picture perspective in terms of strategy for the investments is something that we focus on. Another area of focus is in information curation services. So here what we really try to do is to find that solution for being time efficient and also dealing with it in a world where there's so much information overload. So this is really a service that tries to come up with a solution for that. So within this, we want to, so as an example, we have a daily newsletter that we send out every morning by 7 a.m. So it goes out to all the corporate clients and tells them, okay, what happened in the news for the day. So this is sort of that one email you need to read to find out what's going on in the news, how it affects you. We also have one for global markets as well, and again, very much catered to how some certain global markets affect Sri Lanka. So it's very kind of focused on the Sri Lankan market. We also have other curated updates in terms of real estate, banking and finance, and some social events as well that we started recently. So very much focusing on making time efficient information available. In addition to these three research kind of areas, a few other opportunities that we do have is in business development. So this is very much focused on proposals, deciding strategies for pricing for Frontier's clients, analyzing clients' trends and patterns, and also promoting and putting out existing and new services that Frontier provides. Another one, and this also handles some of the operational matters, recruitment needs, things like that go in there as well. So kind of a more big picture approach rather than just a research focus. Another area that we've got into a little bit more recently is our tech drive. So Frontier now has an in-house tech team, and they have been developing mostly systems that we can use internally to make our internal processes more efficient. But more recently, we've also launched our online reports platform, which our clients are able to access. And this is all developed internally. So what we do see, I think, in growing these areas is that sometimes you join a firm. In fact, the person I would say who heads this tech drive is someone who joined Frontier to do economics. He did economics for a couple of years and eventually realized that he had a greater passion to do tech work, and therefore he transitioned to that role and doesn't do economics anymore, and is very much heading the tech initiative that we have. So we are open to opportunities not just in research areas but also in other areas at Frontier. In terms of who our clients are, so as mentioned on this slide, we have 3 of the top 5 listed conglomerates, 4 of the top 6 insurance companies, private banks, some of the country's largest fund managers, private equity funds, private family dealers, 2 of the largest foreign banks, government exporters, etc. And why we are focusing on this really is that I think Frontier provides a very unique opportunity in that client-facing roles are given even to relatively junior members. And this is something that I think differentiates Frontier quite a lot. So depending on how you progress, even an intern or a more junior member is able to actually have very direct interaction and exposure to top management board level meetings and personal interactions even with them, with the largest of our client base. This is something that personally I find extremely attractive and one of the reasons that I joined Frontier for, and it has definitely delivered on that front. In terms of how we do it, this is touching a little bit more into detail about our culture. So like I mentioned, being time efficient, of course, in our research and how we provide it, but also in how we work. So we want to enable people to live better by using their time better. One of the ways this works is to engage in fulfilling work in times that are best suited. So this is what we call a life first environment. Of course, now with COVID, a lot of people have moved to working from home, but this was very much a norm well before COVID for Frontier. In fact, before COVID, the team was only required to be in office for meetings twice a week. The rest of the time, they could work from home, they could work from the beach or a cafe or wherever. They could also work at the times that they are most productive. So you see people who like to start their work day at 4 in the morning and knock off a little bit earlier. And you see people who also like to who are most productive late in the night. And this is completely fine with us. We have a very diverse group of people in that sense. But as long as there's mutual understanding of how people work and the work gets done, that's really all that matters. And if I'm talking about a post-COVID culture, tapping on from the previous session, at the moment we are working fully remotely and fully from home. But once eventually COVID does go away, we would not be going back to something like a 5-day work week. We'd of course definitely continue on our practices from before. in fact, to touch on this as well, this type of life first culture is very helpful, especially if you're a current candidate and you're doing your exams right now, because even if you're in university, actually, there's a lot of opportunity for you to kind of take leave or be unavailable at certain times, rather than sort of an 8 to 5 kind of arrangement. We are very flexible with how we do work arrangements, and it can be different for different individuals. It's very much up to you how your lectures are scheduled, what your study times are. We're extremely flexible about that. So this is, I would say, another one of the larger points in terms of if you're a candidate and doing CFA or even in university, where Frontier really comes as an advantage. So in terms of the opportunities that are available at Frontier, we have 2 key ones. So one is the Kickstarter Internship. This is not a typical 1 to 3 month internship, but it's a bit more longer term, ideally for students, possibly not CFA students if you're only doing CFA and working right now, but this is more for university level kind of students. So here as well, you are not constrained to one team. If you want to work a little bit in econ, you want to do a little bit of more operations, business development type of work, you would get exposure to multiple teams. So this is the internship that we have, which is a little bit more longer term. And the other one we have is a leadership training program. So this is for a full-time position. And here as well, you are given the opportunity to have exposure into the varied areas at Frontier. So like I mentioned before, I mean, everyone's kind of still figuring it out, even if you've done your job for a while, and you find that you like certain things more than others. So you can start off in econ and you realize you actually like sector research a little bit more. By giving each person exposure to various areas, they're able to develop themselves, really figure out what they like, what they find fulfilling, and Frontier is able to kind of match that as well in a way that works best for both parties. In terms of recruitment, in terms of the website, of course, it would be frontiergroup.info/careers. And I think Travis and the others might share that link with you. But I would say the selection process or the recruitment process is very tough. Even if it's a short-term internship, we do go through kind of an intense process. There's about 3 tests, 3 interviews. Tests are a couple of hours long. Even if it's a short internship, we do go through sort of an intense process of testing. So just a reminder that if you do apply, that this is something that is normal. But definitely, for me at least, it has been worth it to go through it. So I would very much encourage you to apply for these positions that we have available. I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Trisha, for your valuable contribution.
Thank you.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank our official sponsors, Colombo Stock Exchange and Acuity Partners Private Limited, for their support towards CareerNext 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our first segment of the event. And now we would like to move on to the next segment of the evening, where we'll be having a panel discussion with our very own CFA charter holders, Ms. Chetana Allepola, Mr. Vishnu Balachandra, and Mr. Siddharth Kallaratna. To moderate the event, I would like to invite Mrs. Nabiha Mohammed, CFA. Introducing Nabiha, she is a CFA charter holder and currently works as a manager at Colombo Port City Strategy and Business Development Team. She has previously worked at John Keys Holdings in corporate finance and strategy, and prior to that, in private equity at Flat World Capital, New York. And she is a proud member of the CFA Candidate Council Committee. Over to you, Mrs. Nabiha.
Thank you, Dhanusha, for that introduction. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today in our very first virtual career event. I would like to progress on to our panel discussion, where we have with us today Chetana Allepola, Vishnu Balachandra, and Siddharth Kallaratna joining us as our panel speakers this evening. A very, very warm welcome to you all, and thank you for joining us today. Chetana, I would like for you to introduce yourself first. Chetana has more than 12 years of experience in the financial services industry and is currently Vice President at M Venture Partners Private Limited, a Singapore-based venture capital fund with a focus on startups across Southeast Asia. At MVP, she has set up the Colombo-based investment team that evaluates MVP's potential investments and oversees the performance of its existing portfolio. Prior to joining MVP, Chetana was the Director Research at Equity Stockbrokers Private Limited, where she built an award-winning research division focusing on equity and macroeconomic research reports for local and international clients. Prior to this, she was an Associate VP at Amber Research Lanka, where she worked across the corporate brokering, equity and fixed income and derivative spheres for a number of global financial institutions. Chetana's other work experiences include macroeconomic research at the Population Institute, Washington, DC, and the Institute of Policy Studies, Sri Lanka. She has been featured in LMD, Echelon Magazine, and Bloomberg, and she has received several awards from the CFA Society Sri Lanka for excellence in equity research. Chetana studied at Smith College, USA, and the LSE, UK, and has a Bachelor of Arts degrees in Economics and International Relations. She is also a CFA charter holder. I would also like to introduce Vishnu Balachandra, who is also present with us today. Vishnu joined CAL in 2011 and has been a key driver in concluding many noteworthy M&A advisory transactions, debt issuances, and IPOs. Prior to joining CAL, he worked as an equity analyst at Amber Research, covering FMCG and retail markets in East Asia. Vishnu is a CFA charter holder and an associate member of CIMA and also holds a Bachelor in Business Administration from the University of Colombo. I would also like to introduce Siddharth Kalyaratna, who is also with us today. Despite being an electrical engineering graduate upon graduation, Siddharth started his career in the investment advisory field at NDB Securities Private Limited in 2008. After witnessing an unprecedented equity market rally and a boom between 2009 to 2011, Siddharth moved to the buy side from the sell side as the investment officer of Alliance Insurance in 2011. From there, he moved to Dubai in 2012, where he worked as a financial consultant till he returned back to Sri Lanka in 2014. Upon his return, he took over as the head of research of NDB Securities, commencing his second stint with NDB Capital Market Group. In 2017, Siddharth decided to move away from the financial services industry to join the automotive industry as the Deputy GM of David Pierce Holdings. Today, he is responsible for the group's new business initiatives, group risk, and research functions. In addition, he represents many of the group's key decision-making teams, such as the Investment Committee, Treasury Committee, Risk Management Committee, and Finance Committee. Siddharth was also appointed a Director of Asset Line Capital Private Limited in 2020, which is a 100% owned subsidiary of David Pierce Holdings. Siddharth is also a CFA charter holder and a past finalist of CIMA. He holds a bachelor's in electrical engineering from University of Moratuwa. Siddharth authored the book titled Entrepreneurship, The Journey of an Entrepreneur in collaboration with CFA Society Sri Lanka. In addition, he is also a frequent guest speaker and a lecturer at the Colombo Stock Exchange Investor Education Sessions and Seminars. Yes, I would like to open our panel now, where we can commence our discussion of where we have our panelists who will share with us today their career experiences and also provide our audience with career guidance and provide insights onto the CFA program as well. So Chetana, I would like to start with you today. If you would, I would like to invite you to share with our audience your CFA experience and how that has really impacted you in your career. Thank you.
Thanks, Nabiha, for the introduction, and good evening, everybody. So let me just start off with, I'll try to keep this a little bit short because I would rather take your questions than to me blabbing on and on. But with that in mind, I'd like to just start off. When I was sort of asked to give career advice to university graduates, I thought back to my own time in uni, and it's hard to imagine, it's been a while now. But I was just thinking back and looking back at my career in CV, and I was just, I remembered suddenly, I actually never wanted to be what you would call a finance person. That's not what I envisioned myself to be. And I think, in a way, that's the first bit of advice that I want to give you. And that is to be open to opportunities, because even if they don't really fit into your preconceived notions of what you want, sort of expect in your career, future career path, sometimes taking those opportunities will open up doors that you don't necessarily foresee when you are, in the present moment. So when I started out, when I started my career, when I was going to uni, as Nabiha mentioned, I actually I got into economics, right? Because I had this sort of dream and vision of being a development economist. And so, the first part of my career was very much, in this development economic space. And it was only after I came to Sri Lanka, and after, had a little bit of experience in the development economic space, and I was not that impressed by that. I mean, it wasn't the best experience. It's only then that I really started looking at finance as an option, as a career option for me. And, at the time I had friends and mentors who, were recommending that I look at AMBA, what is now Equity Knowledge Partners. It's gone through several name changes, as I'm sure you guys may be knowing. So they were like, why don't you take a look at this? And I decided, what, maybe this is not what I sort of envisioned myself to be doing. Maybe this is not what it was sort of the plan, but let me take a chance, right? And it's important that you take those chances. And I think that is something, a story that kind of has been the case throughout my career, which is probably why you see these slightly different jumps here and there, right? But the second bit of advice that I really want to kind of highlight is that, I know it's not always a choice, but when you do, try to choose options and places and try to surround yourself with people who have very high caliber, both in terms of both their personal and professional background, because those are the kind of things that will shape you as a professional as you go forward into the future. So I know it's not always in your control, but whenever possible, look at those things, because those things, believe it or not, matter a lot and shape you in more ways than you probably even realize. Sorry, I do keep referring to my notes because I had them sort of jotted down. And so then I want to kind of jump onto my third piece of advice, and that is that, we all at some point in our lives will deal with sort of self-doubt and will question ourselves whether we can do certain things, right? And my advice is don't let those kind of questions hold you back, right? There's nothing called the perfect candidate. There's nothing called the perfect person for this job, right? What's important is that you work towards that, and you work hard towards that, and you don't try to fit into someone else's mold. Try to find your own voice and your own position, and that's how you can kind of make your mark in the industry. So, I've spoken about, sorry, Brother Nabiha, do I have time? Should I continue, or should I just give the floor to some of the others?
Yes, sure, Chetana. You can go ahead, please.
Okay,
Continue.
just two more things I want to. I think
Please,
do I
go ahead.
So like I mentioned, when I joined AMBA, I wasn't really sort of very confident with myself as a finance person because I was kind of coming into it a little bit as a newcomer, right? But the thing that really really sort of helped and shaped me is you've got to do the work, right? You've got to put in the effort. Hello.
Chetana, we can hear you.
Sorry, there was a bit of feedback. You've got to put in the effort, you've got to put in the hard work, and also like reach out to other people. Particularly early in your career, you talk to your mentors, talk to your peers, and learn. Because the important thing is really to learn and to become a better version of yourself. So like I said, my transition then from AMBA was to Equity. I think it was really at Equity that I really began to get a sense of confidence about my sort of my kind of experience, my knowledge as a finance professional, or my experience. Those things really became solidified when I was at Equity. Because there, once again, I was sort of thrown into the deep end. I was expected to build this research team, and you do have to spend a lot of time, putting in that hard work, right? But what is important, and this is the sort of the next piece of advice I want to give you, is that, it's important for you to broaden your horizons, read a lot, know what works, know what doesn't work. And, I know this may sound contradictory because I just said, learn a lot, but also understand what your skill set is and use that as a foundation on which to broaden into other skill sets and other areas, right? Because it's only then, and it's only when you can sort of build on your foundation and broaden up, that you can really sort of expand your horizons, right? And both of those take work. I mean, it's a lot of work, and you've got to put the hard work in, but it's rewarding at the end of the day, So, and speaking of hard work, and I think this is my sort of really final point before I stop blabbing and give it over to the others. Speaking of hard work, this is sort of my pitch for the CFA qualification. It really makes a difference, like, first of all, it gives you a sense of confidence, but also I think it is an incredibly important signaling mechanism. Unfortunately, in life, we don't always have the opportunity of getting the benefit of doubt. We don't always, we've been judged for things that we have no control over. By having a qualification like the CFA, you get to sit at a table that you get a seat at the table, and you get to be heard. And I think it's really important that you pursue this, because I do think the charter really does add value, particularly, I mean, at any point in your career, but even as a very young professional, I think it can really add some value. So those are my little bits and bobs of information and advice. Happy to take any questions that you guys have.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chetana, for your valuable insights on your personal as well as your professional experiences. That was extremely helpful. And audience, if you have any questions that you would like to ask Chetana, please send it over to our chat. Vishnu, over to you. Would love to hear your personal story that you have experienced in your career transition from equity research and then progressing onto M&A space at Cal. Over to you, Vishnu.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. For me, I think prior to joining AMBA, I did a short stint in audit, and prior to that, I was also teaching for a while. So my entire career, I've been through 4 jobs. My entire career, everything was by chance, by luck. I never ever dreamt that I would end up doing a particular job per se. I just kept trying job after job, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, most in my first 3 jobs. I just needed to find that one job which I felt I was passionate about doing, I was interested in doing, always kept me on my toe tips to figure out what I can do next. It should be exciting and not monotonous. That was the key factor behind me searching for a job. And I must say, initial few careers was also a bit, I would say, a bit daisy and frustrating for me because I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do on this job. But once you find a fit as to what motivates you, what drives you in a particular job role, or for that matter, in a particular business vertical, then you know you have found your, I would say, fit in terms of what you really want to do in terms of career. And that's how I figured out what really drives me, what really is my passion in terms of work I do. So yeah, the first 3 jobs I did were 6 months to 1 year in nature. I was trying out different things, and then I ended up at Cal. And I think Chaitanya touched this point as well. As much as you do a job you like from a technical perspective, it's also important to surround yourself with the right kind of people. They say people leave not because of too much work or difficult work environment, but really bad bosses. So you need to find that right environment where you're surrounding yourselves with the right kind of people. It does 2 things. One is they enable you to do your job better, and you also enable them to do their job better. So it's a win-win for both. So I think in terms of career advice, all I have to say is keep trying different things until you find your passion. And once you find your passion, it's important that you get to the right place with the right people so that you can do things the way you really want. And if I may touch how CFA changed my life, once you go through the CFA curriculum and once you have done all 3 levels and you start working more and more in the investment banking or fund management field, you realize that 80% of the things you learn in the curriculum are not directly applicable to you in any form of job role. But CFA hugely broadened my thought process, and it showed me that there are more ways to think about solutions to financial problems than one given way. So broadening your thought process is a very big benefit of doing CFA and going through the curriculum and becoming a charter holder. Obviously, the networking is brilliant, but I would say from a technical perspective, broadening your thought process is the amazing benefit for me of doing CFA.
Thank you so much, Vishnu, for sharing your valuable experiences and how you have really transitioned in your career till you actually found that right fit and where you feel like you've reached where you want to be and in your so-called happy place, right? That was very, very valuable. Thank you so much. Over to you, Siddharth. Thank you for joining us today. We would love for you to address our audience who also have a common question around career change, right? You have an electrical engineering background and then transitioned into finance. Would love to hear from you what made you really switch from engineering into finance. What was the key driver? And if you can shed some light on your career journey, that would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Nabia. And thanks very much for, I must thank the CFA Society as well for inviting me for this session, and everybody else who joined the program here. Thanks very much for joining us as well. Yes, I believe majority of the key learnings of becoming a CFA member or charter holder was addressed by Vishnu and Chaitanya as well. Like Nabia suggested, there are 3 key things that I wanted to discuss with you or share with you in terms of my career. 3 key decisions that I made along the way that sort of helped me to get to where I am today. But before I do that, let me rewind about 13 years and thought of highlight to where or share with you where I was just or towards the end of my university education, and share with you how lost I was, like what Vishnu said. I didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. So this was in 2008. I passed out in 2008 May. So towards January, February in 2008, towards the end of my last semester as an electrical engineering undergraduate, I honestly didn't know what I should be doing. Whilst doing engineering, I started CMA as well, purely because my friends were doing CMA. But one positive that came out, in addition to the education I got as a CMA student, one positive thing is that I met a good friend who introduced me to equity trading. He had an account with one of the leading stockbroking companies in the country, and he was a trader at that point, and I was very young when I met him, and I didn't have money to invest. So the money that I borrowed from my father for my university education, little bit of 1,000, 2,000 rupees, nothing much, I started investing a little bit. Nothing major happened. I didn't make any substantial gains, nothing really to write home about. But one thing that happened was that I developed an interest towards equity trading, and that just sort of continued for the 4 years that I was studying as an engineering graduate. And beyond that, I never really wanted to spend time learning engineering concepts. I hardly went to university. I was more involved in doing other activities, such as working for CFA student societies, and then pursuing some of the extra efforts with my school. So I wasn't really 100% into learning engineering. But having said that, I don't regret the 4 years, because two key things came out of those 4 years. One was the logical thinking and analytical skills that I sort of developed later on in my career, thanks to CFA. I believe the fundamentals or the basis for that development came from my engineering degree. So I am very much thankful for that, for those 4 years. And in addition to that, I met my wife as well during those 4 years, so I can't complain. One key thing that happened during that time was I was open to change. I was open to new opportunities, and I was looking for opportunities. And I was basically willing to take my chances with any other career that I felt would fit me, and also sort of would help me develop some of the likings that or interests that I developed towards the equity market. Specifically, I didn't know about capital markets back then. I didn't know about CFA, and I just knew about the Colombo Stock Exchange. So I was hoping that something would come by that would help me. So well, I consider myself to be extremely lucky right throughout my life, not just throughout my career. So luck really played a big part at that point as well. I had a very close friend of mine, a family friend, who was working for NDB Investment Bank as a manager at that point, and he introduced me to the CEO of the NDB Investment Banking cluster around February or March in 2008, and I got an interview to meet him. And well, he was a graduate of University of Moto as well. He was a civil engineer, this CEO, and he was later on, he went on to do CFA and was a CFA charter holder as well, with about 20 plus years of experience post charter. So he pitched to me CFA in my first interview, which happened to be my last, because he decided to recruit me. And I started CFA. I was open, like Vishnu was saying, I was open to change. I was open to an opportunity, and I was so lucky to have got an opportunity to meet somebody who was linked to a stockbroking arm. And I didn't know the difference between the sell side or the buy side. I was offered both investment banking and stockbroking options, and I took the stockbroking option because I didn't know about investment banking. And he pitched to me the CFA, and because it had links to equity markets, I thought I should start. And I did my first CFA level 1 in 2008, and in December, and I never looked back. So beyond that, I believe Nabia sort of told what the transition was for me. I moved into buy side, and then I moved out of financial services into a diversified corporate structure. So first thing that I want to share was that I made a decision to move from something that I didn't like into something that I thought would fit into something I sort of vaguely liked in terms of equity markets. So therefore, I was open. I thought I should pursue, and luckily for me, it was my perfect fit. And then the second decision I made was, once I was in, I held on to it. I knew after about 2-3 years, this is what I want to do. Investments, money management was my forte, or something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And then I made a strategic shift within the sell side to buy side. So it was more of a tactical move, I would say, based on the environment that I was in. Because at that point, the capital markets, equity markets was slowing down. The stockbroking or the equity trading, investment advising wasn't as interesting as it was in 2009, just after the war. So I was getting bored. I didn't want to get too bored, too bogged down at that point. I was worried that I would lose interest, even though I had a real passion for investments. So I thought I would move into an area within that landscape that would help me harness some of the logical thinking and the analytical skills that I had. So I thought that buy side would help me. So that was the second shift that I made. I moved in as the fund manager of Allianz Insurance. And then the third shift that I made was in 2017, when I decided to move out of financial services into a corporate structure with a diversified group within a diversified group. So that was the third shift, which sort of told me that there are opportunities outside financial services as well for CFA charter holders. It's not just the banking, investment banking, or the M&A. There is work that you can do as a CFA charter holder or a CFA qualified person outside that landscape as well. So within my scope, I not only help my group manage their investment portfolio, but I also help them find new business opportunities. I help them with their M&A work. I help them fine tune the existing businesses, and basically what I help them is to find alpha, find ways to get a better return for the shareholders. So once you get in, you have to be open and pursue different avenues that will satisfy you and keep you going. So at times you may find yourself sort of bored because, well, they say variety is the spice of life. So you sort of need to find ways to keep yourself enthusiastic and keep yourself involved and continue to learn new things. Otherwise, you sort of gets bogged down at the same place. So that helped me to, so the moving around sort of helped me to keep myself updated and keep myself going. So I hope this sort of transitions that I made over the last 12, 13 years would help you guys to make some of the decisions that you probably are delaying or would want to make. I'm more than happy to take up any questions that you may have specifically, and during the discussion sessions, let's discuss this further. Over to you, Nabia.
Thank you so much, Siddharth, for that very valuable insight and sharing your experiences with us on your journey as you progressed on from the financial services to now pursuing a career which is outside of the industry. This is a very common area that a lot of our candidates or even potential candidates have, is really, I mean, what is the plethora of opportunities out there? So really, audience, hope that answered a lot of your questions. Chetana, I would like to ask you a question. With the current focus that you are on startup valuations and your position for your company which is positioned as a VC firm, where you're looking and analyzing new sunrise sectors that have very, very little information that is available out there, how applicable is the CFA program or the study curriculum in your day-to-day life at your job? Just,
right.
I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, that's actually a really good question, Nabila, and it's something that in some ways is kind of ironic, actually, you know, because I think in a lot of ways the reason I am able to kind of switch from, say, the sell side to a more buy side, specifically into this space, which is an even smaller niche within the buy side, right? I think one of the biggest things that helped me do that switch was primarily the CFA exam and the qualification, right? But I will be honest, in terms of your day-to-day operations and in terms of how much of those learnings that you got, particularly on the valuation side, I think when it comes more onto the kind of portfolio management and the behavioral side, that aspect plays in. That aspect you actually do see, but in terms of the actual analysis, because they are so early stage, and because they don't really have the kind of metrics and the numbers that we as financial analysts are used to seeing, you've kind of got to throw all of that out the door, So unfortunately, the question I have to answer in two ways. I think having the CFA and doing the CFA, having the, first of all, the charter, but also like studying all the material helps you kind of transition into that space. But once you're within that, I don't think it is necessarily applicable, particularly when it comes on the more technical side. One caveat though, there is a slight distinction between VC versus PE. And so when it comes to private equity, you may use some of the technical stuff a little bit more because those companies are a little bit more established. Therefore, you have the opportunity to use some of those, technical like valuations and stuff are more applicable in that case. But with VCs, very early stage, really, there's not much. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, Chetana, thank you so much for clarifying that. Really appreciate that. Vishnu, with your experience previously in equity research and transitioning on into the M&A space, we have a lot of candidates who have finished their CIMA and who are also working currently in the equity research space, but who would also like to pursue the CFA program. Right. So can you shed some light onto, really, if you want to pursue a continuous career in this space, equity research, is it really valuable to go out and pursue the CFA charter for those trying to make that really important decision in their life? Would appreciate your thoughts on that.
It's not mandatory. To say it's not like a prerequisite to have CFA to be in equity research or investment banking or fund management or anything to do with capital markets, because before Sri Lanka had their first charter holder, this field was existent for a much longer time before that. But that said, it's a matter of perspective and how the qualification or the charter actually enables you or strengthens your case to be a better person on the job. For me personally, it opened my mind to a lot of things which other qualifications or other academic backgrounds I've had didn't, I would say, fill that vacuum in terms of perspective, or for that matter, even educate me in those areas. So for me, it was broadening my perspective of how the financial factors move, and that's something CFA supported me a lot with, but it's not a prerequisite. It'll just strengthen your case. That's about
it. Great. Thank you so much, Vishnu, for sharing your thoughts with us. Across the board, I think all three of y'all mentioned that it's really important to position yourself or surround yourself with the right people, right? And to be in that right environment, to really excel in your career and enjoy what you're doing and be passionate about it. So any advice on how really you can position yourself to be in that right environment? Really, I just open it out to the panel. Siddharth or Vishnu or Chetana. Happy for you all to shed some thoughts on that.
If I may start, Nabia, yeah, I think networking, I believe either Vishnu or Chetana sort of mentioned networking is very important. So we sort of sometimes when the going, especially when the going is good, we take people for granted, but it's the people that we meet along the way that always help us to get to where I am. At least that's been my case. Like I said, I have been very lucky all throughout my life. And it has not been, I mean, it's been the case for my career as well. I always met the right people at the right time, like with the case when I just passed out. So people always help you. And at the same time, you have to remember that you have to ask for help as well. It's very important that you go for help, go for the right people and ask for help. Otherwise, they would know that you need help. So both matter. You need to associate with the right type of people, not just the network, even your closest circle should be the right people. Even the friends that you associate should be the people that you want to have a lifelong relationship. They say you're the average of the 5 people around you. So you need to associate with the right people within the close circle as well as with the network that you are in. And also then, like I said, you have to open yourself, be humble. And when you need help, you go for help. And when you can give help, you should always give help regardless of the person on the receiving end.
Thank you. You mentioned about network. I would like to understand if the CFA network has really had any effect on you, or have you seen any of that wider outreach to others who have benefited from the CFA network? If not really, I mean, others, maybe if that question is applicable to you, I would love to hear your thoughts as well.
Personally, I don't think, Nabia, you need to restrict yourself to CFA network. Like Vishnu said, CFA is not a prerequisite to be in any field. And just because you have CFA or CFA charter doesn't mean that you will succeed in the career that you choose. By no means that's the case. You have to put in the effort. You have to have the right attitude, and you have to be focused, and you have to grind. That's the story of every life. So therefore, you need to basically network with everybody. If you talk to Vishnu, I believe most of his successful deals are done outside the CFA network. Because you have to associate yourself with other networks as well in order to basically make the most out of the network that you are in. So that's my personal experience. Would like to hear what Vishnu and Chetana thinks as well.
If I may take both questions, I'll answer the network aspect of it. I think more from a Sri Lankan context, but we have 150 charter holders who are here. And within that, yes, it creates a close network of people. It's like a university alumni. But the difference being from a global context, it's like a global passport to a university alumni. You can go to whatever country and you move in there. You want to start a network somewhere, the CFA society of that country is a good place because you're meeting like-minded people in similar fields who could help you open the right kind of doors for you to get the right kind of access. But that said, network is never limited to your charter holder network or your colleagues on that matter. More from a perspective of having to ensure you surround yourself with the right kind of people. I mean, there have been enough and more movies that have been done about capital market professionals, Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, XYZ. I mean, and while the Sri Lankan context is very different, it all shows people either dealing with loads of other people's money or your own money. And when there's so much of money in circulation, integrity is something you have to prioritize and put it up right there. You don't compromise on integrity for anything else you might do on the job. And it's very easy to be tempted. It's very easy to be sidetracked. And that's why I say it's very important to surround yourself with the right kind of people, because you don't want someone guiding you down the wrong path for short-term benefits, for the loss of your long-term career. And I think Siddharth, Chaitanya, all three of us have been in capital markets, and maintaining the highest level of ethical behavior, integrity, upholding those standards is, I would say, more important than being a king in your job.
Absolutely, Vishnu. I can't agree with you anymore on all those points that you hit home on. Thank you so much. We have a question from the audience, and then I think we'll be good to wrap up. What are your thoughts on the future opportunities of investment into the KPO sector in Sri Lanka within Port City, and attracting global companies that are, I think what they mean is basically, what are your thoughts on the future opportunities of investment within the ICT or KPO space? And I think how Port City is positioned to attract that investment when global companies are progressing on in a post-COVID environment. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not really anything to do with the CFA program, this question.
I can't get anything on how I see it. I think, Port City or not, like, I'm sure we still have international, KPOs kind of businesses going on. And I think if you are kind of looking at it through that lens, then I think a qualification like the CFA is, I know Siddharth and Vishnu both mentioned, these are not prerequisites to certain things, and I absolutely agree with them. You can do the job still fine if you want. But if you are interested in sort of, getting into more international companies and all, I do think the CFA can help you, really help you, give you a bit of an edge there, open the door a little bit wider in that instance. But yeah, that's my only that's all I can say on that one.
Thanks a lot, Chaitanya. Thank you so much. So Vishnu, Chaitanya, Siddharth, thank you so much for joining us in this very first virtual career event as CFA Institute or Society Sri Lanka celebrates its 20 years. We were really happy to have you guys and shed some light on your career journey with us today. I'm sure the audience found it extremely valuable and helpful. Thank you again for joining us. Have a great evening.
Thank
Bye.
you, Nadia. Thanks very much for inviting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Again, I would like to thank Ms. Chaitanya, Mr. Vishnu, and Mr. Siddharth for your valuable insights, and Mrs. Nabiha for moderating the discussion. We have now come to the end of day one. On behalf of Candidate Council of CFA Society Sri Lanka, I would like to thank all the special invitees for joining us at this event today, despite many obligations. We are indeed grateful for the gift of your time. It's my privilege to thank Mr. Travis Gomez, the Director and Candidate Council Chair of CFA Society Sri Lanka, for the guidance and support rendered towards the success of this event. I take this opportunity to thank all the representatives of each company for accepting our invitation and for giving us their fullest cooperation. Let's not forget appreciating our honorary panelists for sharing their career experiences, inspiring us to climb the ladder, reaching the heights fearlessly and confidently, driving to the success. Last but not least, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Candidate Council of CFA Society Sri Lanka for their untiring efforts taken towards the successful implementation of the event. Marking the end of day one, this is a gentle reminder to kindly inform you about day 2 of the program. Will be held tomorrow from 4:30 p.m. onwards via Zoom. The companies who would connect with us tomorrow are NDB Capital Holdings, TW Corporations, Stats, Asia Securities, Colombo Stock Exchange, Linear Wealth Management. Especially, there will be a soft skills training session which will be done as part of tomorrow's session by Robert Kinzel, who is a well-reputed international trainer. Therefore, kindly make yourselves present for tomorrow's session as well. Thank you and good night.